a young man will challenge his father,
Yeah. I hear that a lot.
like physically. And when I heard that, I was like,
I hear stories.
I can't believe that. I think that's
I
not
don't.
normal.
I haven't. But you hear stories.
Yeah.
You be like, they're too scared to ever test that. I remember I think one time I disappointed my father. One time he took his knuckle. He said, I was like, man, that hurt. Yeah. That was enough. I was like, I'm gonna run away, man. I was in the bathroom crying, like,
Welcome to the Noir Poise podcast, where wisdom is power is more than just a motto.
It's our way of life.
Welcome back, guys. So this is the continuation of the previous week's episode. As mentioned, this is a men's series where we're covering different topics. So we're going to get right back into it with Sam, Eddie, and Steve.
What I was going to mention earlier was there was a podcast where there was a guy talking about how this apparently a moment. Maybe you might know about this because we come from Caribbean background and you're American background. But he said there comes a moment where a young man will challenge his father.
Yeah. I hear that a lot.
Like physically. And when I heard that, I was like,
I hear stories.
I can't believe that. I think that's not normal.
I haven't. But you hear stories.
Yeah.
You be like, damn, you did that to you. And then the father checks you.
Yeah.
I've heard stories where my coworker was like, I was feeling myself. And, I went to the army, I came back, and I tested my father. He said, my father put me to sleep for a few hours. And I woke up, and I never questioned him again. But me, my father, and, it's funny, we was talking about, not too long ago, about how, beatings. The parents of today, my era is a testament of what happened with all that beatings. Parents grew up, and they was like, yo, I'm never touching my kid again. There was a lot of overcorrectiveness. I think there's a certain type of balance for that. I never got a chance to touch on that. I don't believe in beatings neither. You're right. It can come from a bad place. That firmness, that seriousness, that fear of letting your father down can be enough for him to want to act correct. My father never really beat me, but I was too scared to ever test that. I remember I think one time I disappointed my father. One time he took his knuckle. He said, I was like, man, that hurt. Yeah. That was enough. I was like, I'm gonna run away, man. I was in the bathroom crying, like, and all he did was put his, he never beat me, but I just was too scared to really want to test him or disappoint him.
Perfect example.
Yeah. Right. I just, so like that enough helped keep me in line in a sense. We're gonna be spending the rest of our days trying to get it right. But people been having
I don't know if there is one.
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean? Because it might keep changing.
There isn't. There's never an answer.
Right.
Because we're all different people. So the answer for Sam is not going to be the answer for you. Yeah. And it's the same with children. Even when you have multiple children, you can't raise the first and the second the same. Yeah, the type of tough love or firmness or the emotional type of vibe you have for the first is going to be completely different from the second. You just got to relearn this whole person, a new person all over again. So there really isn't an answer. And that's what I think. For me, the most important things is discernment, because you got to be in tune to be able to know, like, when am I in the wrong? Because I think as parents sometimes that's what they lack. Yep. We're so egotistic that we think we're the parent. You young, what do you know? Yeah, we're not willing to hold ourselves accountable and apologize to a child when it's needed. I think that's important. And two, wisdom, being open to learning. Not stuck in your ways, and this is how it happened for me. This is what worked for Steve, so I'm gonna do the same thing to Gray. Gray's not Steve, so you may have wished someone did it for you, and it comes time for Gray to experience it, and it does the complete opposite. Yeah. You know what I mean? So being able to be willing to work on your relationship with your kid and learn who they are, and then go from there, I think is important.
Knowing who your children are, because that's where, in that pivotal time when they become teenagers and they start to go through things, and you let them just to their own devices, and you lose them. You don't know who they become. You know who you raised, but when you start to give them the leeway, I had to relearn my oldest. I had to learn him all. We had to, I had to meet my son all over again to know who this young man was, because I did things how my mother did it with me. She didn't bother me too much. When I became an adult, not adult, but I became a teenager. She didn't bother me too much. She left me to my own devices. You know what I'm saying? I figured things out. I wasn't a bad kid. I was out there. My biggest thing was girls. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't into crazy things and stuff, so she didn't stress me on come home where I was going, this and that. It was just like, all right, if there's somewhere to go, be here. We got to go to church, be here. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it was, you got my car, I got to go to work, be here, be at the house, It wasn't, there was no, you can't, it was just, listen, I'm going to work every day. As long as you ain't coming here, wilding out and you ain't getting sent to jail. She pretty much, let me figure it out. So I did the same thing with my oldest. You know, more so because there's two reasons. I'm getting actually something that we were touched on. Two things. One, because I didn't have that. It's almost like I didn't know how to raise a teenager because I didn't get raised as a teenager. Yeah. Not that I say I didn't get raised. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to make it say, but my mother, she trusted me to do the right thing, I guess, pretty much. So, and I did the same with him. So I let him get his own bumps and bruises and stuff. Me not really having that done to me, I didn't really know how to do that. And I didn't want, one thing I didn't want, what you guys said before about one day your son is going to challenge you. Yeah. That was always in my head. And I said, if that ever happens, I don't know how I'm going to feel about my own child because I don't exhibit that type of thing toward you. So for me to tell you one time that you can't go or do something or whatever, and you challenge me in a way to where I deem it disrespectful and I have to get physical up in your face, that's going to change the dynamic of us. So he's my only. I'm like, this is my only child until he was, 21 when I had my other two. So I never wanted our relationship to be strained. So there was a lot of things that I probably could have and should have said and done that I didn't because I don't know how the response was going to be. I don't know how the outcome would be. And I don't want that dynamic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I was hesitant to do and say certain things or to parent in certain ways because I didn't want to lose that. I was overcompensating because my father wasn't in my life. So I'm like, I'm going to be there 100% no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And until whatever, and even though this part of the life, I don't know what it's like being a man and raising a young man. Yeah. I'm going to do what I would have felt was, what I'm saying? What I would have felt was right. Or like based off of like your experiences, how you would like to be, how I would have liked to be treated or how I felt about things, and I figured he's got to have some of my, my brain or whatever, what I've instilled in him. And that's how I looked at things, and I'm like, I don't go above and beyond, like, punch my son in the head in the face if he do this. Like, you do that, then what? He's gonna, of course, if you're exhibiting that type of behavior, at some point, no matter who or what you are, because even my sister did it to my mom. Like if you feel you're getting beat unjustifiable or punished, at some point you're gonna speak up and stand reaction, and it's not always meant to be disrespectful, but it's like what is this? I can't take anymore. Or why? Or stop that. I don't like it. That's not helping. Figure out a different way.
The perspective that this guy was coming from was, at least correct me if I'm wrong because you heard it more firsthand, but it was, I'm proud of my son because if he's willing to stand up to me, he's willing to stand up to everybody else out there, and I get that perspective. But the angle I was coming at it from was if you push someone to that point where they feel like they have to get physical, at least for me, I would have felt like I did something wrong. Like I'm supposed to be able to push you while reassuring you. And so you can see that I'm pushing you, but I'm not the enemy. I was actually surprised when he said that a lot of fathers told him, like, there's going to come a time with your sons that this is going to happen. Yeah. I thought it was more so American culture. That's why I was really interested in your perspective. But I totally disagree that time has to come. Right. If I was ever to be a father to a son, if he was to ever want to get in my face like that, I think like you, I would take a step back and I would have to reevaluate myself. Because the way I saw it was, if you're willing to fight your father,
ain't nobody that you're willing to fight. Yeah. There's nobody that you're not willing to fight.
Yeah, that means you'll be willing to step up to a police officer if he says something to you, a teacher, a woman, whatever the case, because I'm supposed to be the person that you, I don't want to say idolize, but I'm supposed to have a soft spot in your heart. And if you don't have that soft spot for me or that control for me, then I would have said, okay, I clearly did something wrong. Or I've been doing something wrong. Yeah, right. But it seems like it's a normal thing in the black community.
I don't think it's normal. I think that's something that they would like to be normal, that they would project and push to be normal because that's what society does. But there's no such thing as anything being normal. Like, what's normal? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought my life was normal. I thought my family was normal until I became a young man, and realized, like, this is not what it's supposed to be. Yeah, right. I got a couple of single aunties that I didn't know about, and my pops in here, and they do this, and they reacting off of that, and so there's no such thing as what's normal. You know what I'm saying? It's about what's suitable for you and yours in your household, and what fits the dynamics of your family and what you're striving to be.
Speaking of normal, one thing I'm always trying to tell myself, learn to grow with the times. Yeah. Because I think that's one of the ways that parents get disconnected from their kids. Mm-hmm. Like, even to this day, my hair is not long, obviously, but
it's too long for your parents, right?
Yeah, it's too long for my parents. Like,
man, especially in our community.
Like, my brother's smart.
You bald.
Yeah,
with no lines.
my brother's smart. I don't know if he does this on purpose or not, but I would notice that he would let his hair grow for like a year. And on my mom's birthday, he would cut his hair. And he'd be like, "It's your birthday gift. It's gonna make you happy."
That's
but
funny.
it's something that even till this day, my mom and I go back and forth with. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with my hair, but she's looking at it like, no, it's not good. You know, what are you saying to society? So I always kept that in the back of my mind that I need to grow with society. But the scary part is now, especially towards young men, what society's putting out there for them, I don't think is right. Like, for example,
it's an imbalance.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
It used to be a balance.
It's too far one sided.
Yeah,
It used to be an unspoken understanding with a lot, and we're going over things or we're dealing with things. I was like, oh, it was we understood, you know. But
like growing up, you could see there's a certain type of man who wears a certain type of outfit, who does a certain type of things.
we knew that.
But nowadays, like, not to name drop or whatever, but you got people like Olympic athletes who paint their nails and stuff. So I'm always wondering, like, how do you raise a black man in this world when things like that are happening? Should you change with those times, or should you hold on to what you believe?
That's where discernment comes into play. You know, we have to know the difference between truth, the difference between confusion and chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and what's trending.
There's one exactly. There's one thing for something to be trending, and then there's another thing for this is how things really should be. You know. And there's some things that I will never conform to. That doesn't mean that, you know, it's right or wrong, whatever. But at some point, I believe that we have to have within ourselves and to teach our children to discernment as well. Yeah. That some things you can take, others you have to really look at, and you'll know when something is right. You know what I'm saying? Inside, if you're really internalizing, if you've been, I don't want to say taught right, but you know, if you've been taught what truth is and what truth looks like and what right and wrong. But I mean, right or wrong could be subjective too, you know. But like I said, it depends on, like, there's some people that don't think anything's wrong with it, you know what I'm saying, or they don't think it's a problem. But I feel like it's opening the door, and it's confusion to where this world today is doing that with the, you know, I don't want to get all this,
tough.
You know, but
it's tough for
what goes on, but you know, the changing. There's too many options. Life doesn't have this many options. There are options,
that's
but
true.
there's not that many options.
It's like
a
Cheesecake Factory,
you know what I'm saying?
man.
Like, this is not. We're getting a little. You know, you're going a little over the line, crossing the line now. So.
And that sucks that I finally have a son, and I got to do it. All these new things that I never had, that I didn't have growing up. So now I gotta know how to navigate through that. And it's
you
fun.
You have to stand on your square and to.
Right.
Keep your morals and to know that just because you're not conforming to society doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or it's detriment to your child. Like,
because I know better.
It's not the direction yet.
I know better. You don't know better, and I understand that you have your own life, your own voice. But there's just certain things that we're going to stand on and believe in because it's tried and true, sir. I hear you, but this is what we believe in. This is what we stand on. This is what's going on in the world. Everybody has their different beliefs, and we find our way in the middle with all of that. You know, and that's what I'm trying to gather. But all these new things, I remember thinking, I was like, I don't remember none of this stuff. You know, things used to be black and white where it seemed black and white, and now everything's wishy-washy all over the place. And you're right. Too many options can be, for the human experience, can be unhelpful. Like, it could be a detriment. Growing up, there was fact, opinion. It's this whole thing of my truth kind of thing. And it's like, when you start saying that, in my opinion, at what point do we stop and say, this is the fact? All right, so where do we go from here? Nah, but I was like, all right, cool. Now we're just going to keep going. And we'll never get to the bottom of this whole situation. And now it just creates more and more problems. And how I deal with it is just stay out of some of these things because, maintain your sanity. I think, yeah.
You gotta realize when it's not our fight, when we sit back and just stay quiet, man. We don't have to interact with everything or to, you know what I'm saying? We don't have to conform to everything.
To each his own. To each his own. I get it.
And I said this before, I do think there's a heavy attack on men where they're training men to negate their masculinity. Things that come natural to you guys are being looked at as
toxic.
Yes, as toxic.
That's a new word too.
Yeah, that is, right? So dealing with that and then raising a young boy in an environment like that. You said it earlier how, you heard things so much outside of the home that you naturally started to believe it. Right? And so we have to look at that in that perspective too. You have a young boy where you know what you're doing at home and you can only hope that you're doing the right thing. But the reality is our young boys are in a public school system or private school system majority of the day. They come home, you only have about 1 to 2 hours, and that 1 to 2 hours is dinner, washing up, and you know what I mean, homework, right? Yeah. So there comes an age. Yeah, there comes an age where the time you spend with those children is less than what the time they spend watching TV, watching movies, being with their friends, being in school. So that's the average reality of most parents raising young black boys, right? So you may have a certain thinking, and you may be telling your son, this is what it is, whatever the case is. But at some point in time, we're human. We're like computers. We take in what we hear most, right? So right now, and I'm going to just be blunt and say it. Right now, what our young black boys are hearing are, on top of they ain't nothing, they're unworthy, they're disposable, they're hearing it's okay to wear crop tops. It's okay to paint your nails. It's okay to test and experience out there, sleep with different genders. Like, this is what's normalized. And that's not even touching on the crazy amount of drugs that's out there now. Because when we were growing up, it was like, yeah, you smoked weed, you had a cigarette. That's what kids were testing out, right? Now they're mixing, they're experimenting, and the reality is our young boys are going out into a world that's like this, right? Building a young boy to be strong enough mentally to withstand those pressures. The reality is most boys may at some point experiment or wonder. Even if they don't actually take the action, they wonder, right? So how do we continue to instill healthy masculinity within them, and not healthy what the world calls healthy, but what we probably know what healthy is, right? How do we instill that in them in a world where they're being told it's toxic? How does that look like? And how do we tackle it?
I think the best answer I've come up with that so far, super involved in your children's lives. And I mean hands-on. When we were looking for a home, part of how we choose the school district and if it's good and the rating. And the lady was like, you know what? I forgot where we met the lady. She was like, you know what? People think going to a great school makes a great child, a great student. But at the end of the day, you still have to be involved and doing their homework with them and watching them and doing their education. Being involved in their education is what makes them a great student, not the school. And I took that and I was like, yo, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say yo. I don't know if we can say yo. Oh, okay, cool. Yo. But being involved, or how I plan to be involved in Grayson's life, is to be side by side in that, right? You were saying I only have a couple of hours with him after school and because I'm at work, and I wholeheartedly want to change that. I know my life right now doesn't reflect the time that I want to give my son and maybe possibly my future children. As time goes on, I want to be around more so that I can say that I was there for his growth and that nobody else was raising him. I was. And there's going to be what this home believes and what we stand on, a foundation, a spiritual foundation. That's that. There's so many different aspects going on in the world. There's people going to believe what they believe in. This is what we stand on. And too much of anything isn't good. You see all this stuff going on. I get it. Your friends, they're having a ball. I can tell you not to do these things, and I will, but I'll give you an example as to what happens when you indulge in certain things. Mm-hmm. I'll give you my family's example, my personal experience, and I'll show you. I'll take you there. Now, you can take with that what may, but just know this is where I stand on that. This is what we believe in, and we're going to, this is the standard we're going to carry, sir. One day, you're going to have this, hopefully for yourself, and you're going to want that, and you're going to have to be ready for that. You're going to have to experience certain things and not experience certain things. There's certain drugs you're not going to come back from. Even if, these kids, everybody's different. Overindulging in alcohol at your age will affect you and your education. Listen, you're gonna have a lot of living to do. Your teenage kids years is not the only part of your life. I get it. It's great. I know you can't hear me, but listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I'm preparing you for the other part of your life. I'm telling you and I'm showing you this is what happens if you go down this path. Now, you're going to be who you are. I would love to experience that with you. I'm going to try to guide you. If you believe in something, make sure you believe in it. Not because it's cool, not because it's trending, whatever. No, we don't play that. This is how we're going to do things. And I'm going to continuously do that and I'm going to try to lead by example. Before Grayson was born, I was telling Aisha all these ideas that I had or how I would like to raise Grayson. And she was like, she said something interesting, and that's where I carry now. She said, how do you plan to teach Grayson all these things when you don't even practice some of these things now? And I was like, you're right. So when it comes to fitness, I'd like my son to be fit. You be fit. When it comes to reading, you want your son to read, you read, so you can have something to talk about. You want your son to have some type of respect, a standard, you show him the standard. And that's how I take it. I was like, he's right. I want to create a well-rounded individual, and I believe there are certain things that he needs to have that. So I'm trying to do those things now so that when it comes time for it, I know what I'm saying and I'm doing. And I would hope that these things will be the things to supersede the outside distractions.
I believe that wholeheartedly. Like it's by example, like you can talk to people in the face. People look at what you do, not what you say, because they just might not like the way you sound. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is. But one thing that I knew, that our young boys, like you said, they watch. They watch what we do, what we say, how we act, how we respond to certain things, And this is why I say we have to learn to learn from our children too. My 5-year-old, he does certain things in the house. Got that from me. You know what I'm saying? I need to check that. I don't realize how much I say that, how much I do that. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that I think that as parents we have to, tap into.
I think if you give a child, but in this case specifically a young black man, something to come home to, he's less likely to want to go out and experiment. And I think that's what really kept me is when I looked at my life and I compared my life to the people I went to school with, I'm like, when I go home, I'm not alone. Like, I laugh, I have great conversation, I have a good time. Whereas them, they may be like, yeah, my mom doesn't come home until 10, so I can stay out all day. So yeah, let's go to the park. Let's smoke weed. Let's do this. Like, there wasn't really anything for them to look forward to. And whenever I felt the temptation to try something, the one question I would ask myself is, am I happy with my life now? If yes, then why do something that could possibly change it? Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that leads people to experiment, because you only experiment if you're looking for something, if you're lacking something. So I think that's one thing that young black men are missing. They're so unsatisfied or unfulfilled in their home, a lot of them, that they start looking for outside the home entertainment or fulfillment. And I think that's one thing that's lacking.
It just so happens it just presents itself.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, you go along with the flow.
Yeah. And they're looking for a sense of community. Like, even on pop culture, like, you see how we were talking about this not too long ago, how especially in the 90s, it was always a clique. So every movie had their own clique, every show had their own clique, a group of friends. So I think growing up, it kind of subconsciously made us look for that. Like, oh, where's my group of friends? And the only group of friends available sometimes were bad influences. If you have something at home, or as a father, if you provide something at home where your son wants to come home, then I think he's less likely to try to venture out into these cliques or into these groups.
That is factual. And you just brought something back to me. So like I was saying before, like with the differences between my oldest, who's 26 now, and my 5-year-old. How I said my 5-year-old, he's always asking, Dad, can I help you do this? Can I do this? He always wants to be up underneath, no matter what it is. He wants to help me. I didn't do any of that with my oldest. So I look at it, I internalize that differently. I'm like, let me live in this moment and take advantage of this now. There's some kids that don't like their parents because if they're always yelling, or they do this, they don't spend the time, or whatever the reason may be. Yeah. I'm cherishing these moments because there's gonna be a time where these kids are going to grow, become their own, and I'm going to want this time now to, come, what are you doing? Where you going? And they're out, and they're doing their things. Yeah. So we get caught up in what we're doing as adults and what we're, you know what I'm saying? And we forget that they're still yearning for our attention because they were at school all day without us, and we were at work all day. Yeah. Now we want to come home and prepare dinner, prepare bills, whatever it is, make our phone calls, and we don't got time. Yeah. I think it's important, no matter how much time it is, give them that attention, you know what I'm saying? Let them feel loved and wanted, because there's only but so much. They're people. Like she said, they're computers. Mm-hmm. You keep inputting that into them that you don't want. One day it's going to click. I ain't going to bother you. You want to be bothered? Let me go over here. Let me go. I've been feeling this way about doing this. Well, I was going to ask you this, but you never have time to answer me. So I'm going to ask somebody that doesn't know nothing about nothing. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, like we lose our children. We lose knowing who they are, what they may do. Oh, my child would never.
Yeah, life.
How do you know? Like, how do you know? When's the last time you had a conversation with your child?
Life be lifing.
So it does, man.
Life be lifing.
And that's it. We just got, like you said, we gotta stay in the moment.
We got to bring it
Stay
back.
in the moment.
Today's modern times did a great job of taking us away from being at home.
Yeah.
You know, you said, I used to come home and somebody was home. Me too. My grandmother used to be home. My mom worked 3 to 11, and I remember thinking, yeah, somebody's always home. And I lived with my cousins. I know that dynamic. Somebody was always around to raise me. And I didn't realize that it was a nice little system that my family had going. We all leaned on each other and we was all around. So in my mind, I'm like, eventually I'm going to grow into that too. And now it's no longer the 9 to 5. Now it's the 9 to 9. Now it's the travel time. Rush hour is not at 3 o'clock. Rush hour is at 1 o'clock. School is not teaching the way we thought they would teach, and we're seeing that now with the results of the children, what they get from education, the reading level. We're more stressed. We're less patient. We're more depressed. We're paying for the things that we used to get for free, and we're doing everything outside. My mom and my wife, they're nurses, and they're nursing and taking care of other families while we're paying for somebody to watch our child. And when it used to just be free.
Exactly.
Yeah, we used to just be home. You used to come home at a good time. Dinner used to be at the table. And now that's no longer a thing. Now it's, social media, there's distractions, and I'm stressed. I'm busy. I can't cook no more. There's no cookbooks. Everybody's Uber eating. There's less love in our food and more, all of this. There's just so many transactions going on. And that's what I mean by like bringing that back in my home. I'd like to bring that back. I'd like to reclaim my time.
Nice.
I'd like to reclaim my time as time goes on, because I'm not going to get that back. I get it. I get that these distractions have gotten bigger and bigger. And if you don't catch yourself before you know it, life's over. My children are older, and, everybody's gone about their way.
Yes, sir.
That's the cold harshness of reality that kicks in sometimes. It's like, you look around and you be like, man, look, my life is going. And what do I have to show for it? I'd hope I did something that I can be proud of. And if not, I still got the time to do it. It's fleeting. Life is fleeting, forever fleeting. And man, sometimes you need to take a moment to breathe and catch yourself.
I love that you brought back the concept of community, because that's one of the things that I think we're lacking when we talk about the lack of resources. It's really the lack of community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then maybe they were able to say, oh, I know this person in this. They could help you out here. Men, in my opinion, shouldn't only have a father figure within their father. I think men should have a brotherhood and allow the people that they trust, who are like-minded, who have different skills, to then instill that in their children for them too. Because the reality is, you're not going to have all the answers for Gray. You're not going to have all the answers for your son.
No.
Our duty as parents is not only to coach them, but in coaching, you connect them with
Show them positive role models. Show them what that is,
Yes.
so they can cling to that.
And it's okay to have
Yeah,
others outside of us. Yeah.
In our community, I think that it's kind of upside down. We hold up what's wrong versus what's right sometimes. The right thing is joked on, and the right thing is like pushed away a little bit. And we've paid a toll for it. Mm-hmm. We've made things that are abnormal normal in our community, and we see that the toll is taking.
like to get to the solutions. Because I think
What's the solution?
I think as a community, we often talk about a lot of the issues, which is necessary. We got to understand where the foundation is, so we can then tackle it. So, in you guys' opinion, what would you say would be helpful to kind of reinstill that sense of community within our people? And I know, in my opinion, I think it starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
If every individual is doing the right thing, then it kind of will just mesh. You'll meet the right people, and then situations like this happen. I really believe in
100%.
honesty. But speaking to people who maybe are not there yet, what would you guys say should be done in our communities in order to reinstill that unity again, especially when it comes to raising young black men?
That's a good one.
I would say, kind of like what you said, everyone has their own individual parts, and don't be afraid to reach out. Because I think, as we've been saying, a lot of times, men, we try to figure it out on our own. And I had to get out of that mindset. There was a couple of times I wanted to text Steve, and I'll write the text out and I'll just delete it. Like, I don't want to bother him or whatever the case is. Or thinking like, I wonder what Eddie's thinking about this, but I don't want to bother him kind of thing. But I had to get out of that mindset of don't feel like you're bothering them, or don't feel like it's shameful, like you're less than a man if you're asking for help. Like if you reach out, and
we all feel the same.
Yeah, we all
and
feel the same.
and you'd be surprised too. Yeah,
yeah. Like a
man.
lot of times, like we feel like we're carrying something and it's unique to us, but it's not until you speak up. You're like, oh, I didn't know you were going through that. Like I hit up someone a few weeks ago about just the whole community thing. Like we have to pay for a village nowadays. And he's like, yo, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I never thought that other people were dealing with this. I didn't do anything for him, but he felt like it was kind of a load lifted off his shoulder to know, like, there's another guy out there dealing with the same thing kind of thing.
That's how I feel when you leave. I speak to you guys at the shop, and sometimes it doesn't have to be an answer or a solution to anything. Yeah. It's just about getting it out. Yeah. Speaking to somebody else that can relate. You know what I'm saying? That can put themselves in your shoes a little bit. That's all we need. And I feel like we need more of that in the community, and we need to spread that throughout. And like it's okay. Like we're gonna all come across different things in life. Yeah. And you may feel certain way about a certain thing, and that certain thing may affect you differently. But nobody knows what anybody's going through because everybody's like you said, we just taught to just suck it up and figure it out. Yeah. And meanwhile, even if per se you may not go through something specifically, you may have a close friend or brother that went through that, and you can give a good word or a good, give somebody a direction. Like, listen, maybe I didn't experience it personally, but I know a person who went through this, and this is how they approached it. Maybe you can try this, maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't, but it's a start. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And just these conversations need to be started, and it's not just about conversations because we always do that. Everything's to be talked about. Conversations are done with. Like people need to put things into action. If you feel like you want to do a certain thing in the community, or to start making strides towards doing that. Research how to start doing that, and
be intentional.
You may not know. Be intentional because we may not. Like I have that problem, but I have a whole lot of ideas and things, and I just told myself this year, like this is the year of putting things into action, of manifestation, like completing the manifestation. Because been thinking about things and writing things down and talking about things forever, but until you put some of these things into motion, they won't come to play. And it does start at home. We have to control what we can control. I hear a lot in our community, oh, why are we going to do this? Because all this is going to happen is X, Y, Z. You're already projecting something that just because it happened in the past, just do what you can do. If you have a conviction to do something, do it. Start it. People will come. It's like Sam. Like I feel like if I was still in the same mindset and the way I was thinking 6 years ago, I would have never met Sam. Like it's a thing to where when you change your mindset, really does move the fabrics of this reality, you attract, and so if you're moving a certain way, if you change your mindset and you're making conscious efforts, because you're not perfect, nobody's perfect, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna change overnight, but if you're making conscious efforts to be a better person, to be a better father, to be, somebody in the community that somebody can look to, do what you can, what you know best. It may not know anything, but listen, I know I can come down to the rec center and chuck the ball to the kids and give them a laugh or something, and just tell them that, yo, man, keep going, keep doing your thing. Whatever it is. It's like even me when I cut. There's certain kids I come, and some kids I can tell when somebody may not have people in their life that's pouring anything to them. Sitting down, you got your head down all the time, you quiet, or you walk with your head down, or you just like, yo, what's up? How you doing? You all right? Like, keep your head up, man. Like, it's all right, man. Like, stand tall, be proud of who you are and what you are. Don't keep, So, like, I may be overstepping or whatever, but there's the things that I feel that were missing that I didn't get, that I may have seen from the outside looking in that I thought was dope. So I try to pass that on,
Love that. Yeah.
All right, so if you had to name a few things that young men should work on in their young age, what would it be and why?
A few things that young men should work on? What would it be? First and foremost, it's not the end all be all. Financial literacy and a great foundation with God. Now, I understand not everybody believes in God. Everybody has their own religion. All right. So if not God, so I believe in a higher power. You got to learn to play the game of life, right? And part of that is financial literacy. Like a lot of our issues or the stressors in life involve finances, and if you know how to use money and how to make money work for you, it just makes life that much more easier. Marriage, things that you need for things that not that you want, that things that you need for you and your family. And the reason why I say God is because you need, I believe there is a higher power. We're not just here to be here. And having a spiritual foundation gives you some type of guidance. One of the things I had put on my vision board was actually to read the Bible more. And that's because they say the Bible has all of life's experiences and answers in there. Since we're on the topic of men, a man without guidance or foundation is the worst kind of individual that you in society. If you notice, a hopeless man, a man that doesn't believe anything, doesn't have family, they tend to cause the most type of chaos. And if you see it in a lot in when things go wrong. But when they have something that they believe in or something bigger than themselves, or they understand that it's not just about them, they have a focusedness. They tend to have a focusedness. Those are not everything, but those are two big things I believe that you need, intangible tools to help you. And I got more, but I'll say it later.
I would say find some kind of competitiveness, whether it's in basketball, join a basketball team, but you need to participate in some kind of tournament so you can learn what it feels like to go through competition and end up winning or losing, what that feels like. I don't care if it's a chess competition, racing, football, basketball, whatever it's swimming, whatever the case is. But I think young men need to be in some kind of mentally stimulating program that challenges them, that shows them first that you're not as good as you think you are, and that you need to practice and you need to learn how to critically think and position yourself to be a winner. And you need to know what that feeling of winning is, so you can go out in life and know, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z because that's going to make me lose versus win. So it's something straightforward, but I think that's what a lot of young men need.
We know a lot of young men need to learn emotional intelligence, not just listen to, I guess, societal norms, but to also like take in your environment, like what's going on around, to be able to adjust. That's one thing like I'm big on. Like I don't feel like there's one particular way to do any one particular thing. Find what works. Don't be caught up on what people's expectations are of you, and just know that you have a goal, and to know that you don't have to make it to the finish line the same way everybody else does, because that can prohibit you. It can stunt your growth if you're trying to look like everybody else looks. You know what I'm saying? Like your journey is your journey, and I think we need to learn to embrace that. And as long as we feel like we're moving in the direction we should be moving in, like don't deviate from it. Because it doesn't look like how somebody else said it should look, or how you feel like it should look. If you know you're making conscious decisions on where you want to be and what you're trying to do, move on that and be steadfast in that.
All right, guys. So to close out, I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was long. It's been a few weeks. So thank you for sticking with us throughout the conversation. And I hope it planted a seed that will allow you to make a positive change, whether that's in your life or in the life of another person that you know. But I just wanted to let the fathers out there know how important you are, how necessary you are. And we hope the information that was provided here was not to tell you what to do, but it's more so to allow you to think about these things and to realize that, one, men are super important in every role that they play. Even if you're not a father, if you're a brother, know that your role is important. I ran across some information that said children who lack a father tend to deal with higher risk of educational issues, behavioral issues, crime and incarceration, poverty, and employment issues. So that is, in my opinion, like a bulk of what is part of life.
Yeah.
So in other words, just a reminder that like you guys are important, no matter how much the world may tell you you're disposable or you're not needed or so on and so forth. Know that you are important. And when the world is saying one thing, understand that there's a reason behind that agenda. So it's usually the opposite. So we're all for rooting for the guys. We're all for rooting for men to be empowered and to know their role, know their importance in the lives of those that they come across. You don't have to be a father to play these roles. You don't have to be even a brother to play these roles. You can fulfill this in anyone's life that you come across. It could be someone that you're mentoring. It could be just a friend. But the point is, there's power in you and there's purpose in you. So if these episodes did anything, my hope is that it did that. To know that you are needed. We can't stress it enough.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed these episodes, and we will see you on the next one.
See you guys.
Welcome. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you gained some knowledge today that'll promote poise in your life. We have new episodes uploaded every Thursday right here, same place, same time. Until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at Noir Poise Podcast to stay connected. That's NOIRPOISED Podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And remember, your wisdom is power.